We'll get started in a couple of minutes. If you just joined us, check out the Jamboard. A couple of questions. You can scroll through the questions at the top of the page. There's some back and forward arrows. So we would appreciate some of your thoughts. Thank you for posting on the Jamboard. I'm seeing some of you there now, so that's cool. Who can come up with the best example of what's team science going to look like in 2035? All right, it's a minute after 1, so I think I'm going to get started. Let me just start by saying thank you for joining us. And I'll just say sometimes Zoom makes more sense. I think it's been a very effective tool when it is mostly information going in one direction. But that doesn't mean that we don't want to hear from you today. Please, if you have questions, paste them in the chat. There's going to be an opportunity to have some time at the end to do a Q&A. So I'd really appreciate any views. And if you feel like if I make an error or anything and somebody wants to correct, feel free to unmute yourself during the talk too. This is a pretty friendly audience, and it's supposed to be an informational session. So some things are better done than by Zoom, and I think some things we all know are better done in person, and conversations are better done in person. And I really look forward to this summer having some conversations with all of you. We have a couple of things planned to try to facilitate that, and I'll get to that in a little bit. If you haven't made your way over to the Jamboard, please do so. It's going to be open for a while. It's just some kind of interesting questions that, we are all asking. What's on your mind today? We're all thinking about the change in there'll be a new director soon. So how can you make that transition easier for the next director? I'll have my own thoughts to share with you a little bit later on. And then the third question that's kind of out there is, what does team science look like in 2035? And there's already a couple of interesting questions or answers that have been posted there. If you haven't used the Jamboard before, just use the sticky note, and the arrows at the top will help you navigate. Since this is my last town hall, I thought it would be useful to take a look back. I mostly like to look forward, but sometimes it's good to look back, and we can use that to help us get a guide on where we want to go in the future. So I thought I'd spend a few slides checking out where we came from. And Ruth Watkins was the dean when I was interim department head in chemistry. And one of the main things she emphasized to me, I said, how am I going to do this job? And she said, distributed leadership. That's what you need to shoot for. And I took that to heart. And so when I started, this was the group of, it was called Beckman Institute Executive Committee later, but basically it was our co-chairs. I think Rohit's in the audience. Rohit, you were in this group too. You just were not, I think, a co-chair at the time, but we met pretty infrequently, and I was just sort of following the rhythm that had been established, and that didn't feel right. First of all, it seemed like this was not really the kind of representative group that I felt would best help Beckman. And I also thought we didn't meet frequently enough. And while I really haven't tasked the group with much in terms of distributed leadership, I mean, I haven't really sort of didn't put a lot on their plates. What I decided to do was expand BIXI, Beckman Institute Executive Committee, and get us together more frequently. And so with that, today, this is what BIXI looks like now. And it is a much more representative group of faculty members here at the Beckman Institute. we come from all over campus. We are distributed by how senior we are. We are distributed by every other aspect that I think is important to the health and future well-being of the Beckman Institute. Most importantly, we come together twice a month, and in the meetings that we have, we're very freely sharing with one another. We are really a very tight-knit community, and it's from this larger group that I think has helped to really steer and guide where Beckman has gone for the last 6 years. So thanks so much to everyone who has served, and soon Fatima Hussein will be joining us from speech and hearing, and Ping Fei Song will be taking over for Steve Bopart, who has been, I think, part of BICSI since 2010, if I'm not mistaken. One of the other things we've done is invest in the building. The $20 million that are shown at the bottom is projected. So I'm not sure how much we've spent right now, but certainly on the books, obligated funds for improvements in the building during the last 6 years, and what are projects that are in the queue will total us to $20 million. These funds have come from 17 million of those funds have come from state funds, campus funds, one federally sponsored project, the Tissue Engineering and Phenotyping Lab in the basement. And then if you add the extra $3 million, I think that includes the Beckman Foundation money. So those Beckman funds were spent to renovate new lab space, things that really are allowed for under the Beckman Foundation gift fund. So the building, I think, is in much better shape. I mean, I think that, we all remember the carpeting and the furniture, for example. I think you just get a feeling that it's a place that is really inviting. And this is the kind of Beckman Institute that we all want. And the carpet doesn't smell anymore, as I think Ji-Pei Liang would say how valuable that change was from the odorless carpet that we put in 2016. If you haven't visited the basement, this is the time to do so. May 23rd is when the Tumor Engineering and Phenotyping Lab is going to open up. It's a spectacular facility. It's really essentially done right now. There's a couple of rooms that still need some flooring that is going to be changed up, but essentially it's complete. It's really worth seeing, even if this isn't in your research space, but I would definitely say that this is an example of the kind of infrastructure change that can happen when people have a vision. Rohit, this is really a driver. Rohit Bhargava was a major driver for getting this done, and to see how it all has come about. Many thanks to Earl Heffley, others who really have been monitoring the project and making it go smoothly, making it, even during COVID, happen on time. Of course, Rob Fritz. And I actually should pause here and say, back to that $20 million, that money hasn't gotten spent without a lot of work on the part of all of the Beckman administration, especially people like Patty Jones, Kara Johnson, Rob Fritz, Earl Heffley, and of course, many, many others, the people who have been there doing the work. You can't go through $20 million in 6 years and not have it take a major amount of effort. And we all owe our gratitude to this amazing team that works here at Beckman and makes this place so great. So I just want to say thank you to that on that point about that doing a facility overhaul like we've done from the carpeting to ESCO, moving these labs around. What a remarkable effort that seamlessly came off without really major glitches. That I think is another example of just dedicated personnel that we have who are committed to helping the mission of the Institute get accomplished. And so, this lab down in the basement, the set of labs down in the basement is a great example of that. If you have, even if this isn't in your research space too, it's near and dear to my heart, but I would definitely say go check out room 3710, the Molecule Maker Lab. This is generation 1.0. Soon they'll be moving to the second floor lab space, and generation 2 will be stood up. Marty Burke is spearheading this. Charles Schroeder is also very much involved in the effort. There's going to be a NSF workshop here this June, and opportunities for and plans for putting in a fairly major proposal for what would ultimately be Molecule Maker 3.0, with some incredible automation coupled to machine learning. And really, I think it's the future of how we can make things, make molecules, make materials, make compounds that have, impact science and engineering very broadly, even though, people that might be driving those projects have no experience doing synthetic chemistry. And so we're extremely excited to see that something so innovative as this lab is here at Beckman. Now, the $20 million that I mentioned did not contribute to the equipment costs, but they did contribute to the renovation costs for the 9.4 MRI. And once again, if you haven't had a chance to go down and check out this space, it takes incredible images, and really it's amazing to see just how perfected this facility is, with a big magnet sitting in there and really collecting these beautiful images. Again, none of that 20 million went to the investment in renovations for the 7T, which is up at Carl. But that is another thing that has been really, I think, adding to our imaging capabilities during the last, 2 years now. So I would say Beckman is very strongly positioned in building up its imaging science. While putting the 7T in place during COVID was a challenge enough, building a partnership between Carl and Illinois has been a long-standing effort, but the fact that we could come together and do such a remarkable thing as make this investment in a state-of-the-art research / clinical MRI instrumentation is really, I think, one of the greatest attributes that we have accomplished in the period of time that I've been the director. Standing in the middle, Tracy Wozlak, director of BIC and co-director of the Carl, Illinois Advanced Imaging Center, is really been a bridge builder. And she's standing beside Jennifer Erdley on her right and Susan Martinez on her left. So Jennifer, Vice President for Research at Carl, and of course, Susan is our VCRI. It's this particular day was the day that the magnet was brought to Champaign, and it's really been, I'll be honest with you, it's certainly not been easy getting us together in working out all of the protocols. But Bruce Damon has been spectacular at Carl. So that's Tracy's co-director at the Advanced Imaging Center. Between Tracy and Bruce, the two of them have really been able to navigate through all of the challenges that exist to really help make the operating procedures, getting our Champaign-Urbana population study up and going. It's been really a team effort, but now the team has stretched outside of not only the university and Beckman, but now it's spreading down the road to the Carle Foundation Hospital. There's no doubt we have a lot of room to grow this, and as listening to the vision talks of all the candidates, really excited to hear that they all recognize just how important continuing to build this bridge is going to be for the future of Beckman and the future of the University of Illinois. So that really feels very good to me, and I think we're on a right track to make this even more special in the coming years. It's also useful to think about our past, our deep past, and how the MRI really had some roots way back in the earliest days of Beckman when we brought Paul Lauterbur here. And so, again, thanks to Brad Sutton, Earl Heffley, others who found the magnets. Ji-Pei Liang was another person involved in that. They didn't look like they look in this picture when they first found them. Many hours, some late nights, working on trying to refurbish these. The whole communications team at Beckman, Meg Dickinson's committee that really helped to pull together the visualization and graphics. This is a facility that I think we all can be very proud of. I frequently walk by and people are in there checking it out. Sometimes it's undergraduates who just happen to be in the building studying. What a great way to communicate to our campus, to our community, some of the work that goes on that touches really everybody's life. It's virtually impossible, I think, to find a person who doesn't really know what an MRI is, and the fact that we have these roots and can show them off in such an elegant space is very much a fulfilling thing that I think we accomplished. I probably relayed this story to you before, but I love stories, and it's probably worth repeating. This is one of the hardest decisions I made, I have to say. And the reason it was so difficult, Earl had great plans, and yet I guess my hesitation was I couldn't visualize exactly what the space was ultimately going to look like. And, Earl obviously could. And I'm just imagining, cutting a hole in the wall of the atrium and it not working out. So being the director who was the one that destroyed the atrium wall. But of course, I should have and I did ultimately come to the right decision and put trust in the people who know what they're doing. And because of that, we have this amazing room. So thank you to Earl, and with your vision, and everyone else who had a hand in making this a possibility. I think it's going to be a spectacular addition for things that are going to be coming down the pipeline at Beckman. And by that, I mean things like community outreach, which is going to only get more important. One of the things we started was the Vision and Spirit Award. I hope it continues. It has been great to recognize people who just have had a passion for the Beckman community, for team building, for research that goes beyond their own individual research. Every one of these individuals that are shown here have in some way this amazing power collaborator capability or expertise. And it's really the idea that was behind our mission here at the Beckman Institute. And so the Vision and Spirit Award winners are really exemplary in how they have conducted business. And we are really glad that we have them here. And I'm glad that we were able to honor each of them. This year's winner, Dina McDonough, If you haven't visited 1534, I'm sure she would love to see you there. Is really opening up, I think, a new opportunity at the Beckman Institute with her, I'll call it the the ability lab. It's for disabled athletes that she's been working with, and really exciting opportunities together with, some biomechanics. So Mariana Kirsch and others, it's really going to be an exciting direction forward. And if I can, I would like to publicly, because I haven't done this yet, I haven't congratulated Nancy Sotos yet. I wanted to wait, and I thought I would do it publicly. It has been a true privilege to work with such a talented individual for the last 2 decades. She was honored this week with membership in the National Academy of Sciences. That follows her prior induction into the National Academy of Engineering. That already is an amazing accomplishment. And if this month being chosen for NAS membership wasn't enough, she was also elected into the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. All of that is so well deserved, and I can say it probably better than anyone because I've worked alongside her. I know the rigor, I know the creativity, I know the ability to mentor students. She's a driver, but inspiring, and expectations are high. She puts the highest expectations on herself, and everybody else wants to follow. And so, Nancy, congratulations. I really am excited for you, and I can't say how much of a privilege it has been to work with you. When we came, I should say, when Meg Dickinson came into Beckman, it was pretty clear that the visuals in the atrium weren't what they should be. And, we had sort of a vision. We had a Pioneers and Visionaries board, and it was a static, not very well represented by, I would say, our true pioneers and visionaries. And so we began, and I really credit to Meg and her team, to really think about overhauling that static sign and converting it into a living digital sign. And so now this allows us every year to receive nominations for pioneers and visionaries, Martha being one of our newly designated pioneers. And so if you just look on the next slide, you'll see every one of our current pioneers and visionaries, along with the new ones that came. So again, we're going to at least, presumably our next director will continue this, to accept nominations in January. And it would be great, and will be great, to have this in perpetuity and continue to grow and reflect how Beckman has been an evolving institute over the years. And many thanks to the contributions of everyone who did a nomination this year, and we look forward to continuing to receive those. One of the things we've done over the last few years is modify how we choose the Institute postdoc and grad fellows. And, this is, I think, one of the most important ways we spend the Beckman Foundation gift dollars. And I would say thanks to Patty Jones, really, for helping redirect with input from the Program Advisory Committee, who, by the way, thank you to all of those who have served on that. The Program Advisory Committee is the committee that selects the grad fellows and the Beckman postdoctoral fellows. They helped Patty refine the process, and I would say it is a much more, it's a difficult thing to do, right? We're comparing graduate students or postdocs from disciplines that are far and wide, and trying to make decisions about who rises to the top is very difficult. But I think we have a much more effective approach now. It's an approach that really encompasses a greater diversity. So we have been This is actually our gender diversity for the last 6 years, approaching where we need to be in terms of trying to really be making sure that we're equitably giving these resources. 50 total graduate fellows have been named during the 2016-22 period. And of those, we had 22 female, 28 male, 42 postdoctoral fellows during this period, and we had equal numbers of male and females. Here's the current group. And again, we are really thinking about, are we best using these resources? I think the programs are both incredible, but I've at least asked the question, and it might be interesting to get an answer that, I think we have to own the pipeline that's leaky all along the way in terms of bringing diversity into the Institute and into STEM more broadly. And so I've asked the question, can we think about how we might use these funds differently, or a portion of these funds differently? Could we, for example, set up a post-baccalaureate program that might be a pipeline from a Hispanic Serving Institute or HBCU? And so, Patty Jones is kind of taking the lead on fleshing out this idea. So if you have thoughts about it, I think it's a great time to hear your input. And at times, I think we have all heard this question: why are we, pushing diversity? And I got to say, the evidence is absolutely out there. Many thanks to Professor Eva Pomerantz, psychology professor and interim director at CSBS. She has pointed me to a number of scientific studies that look at the effects of scientific impact on diversity. This particular plot came out of the Nature Communications 2018 paper that's cited at the bottom. And basically what you're looking at is a plot of group diversity. That is, group was a group of co-authors, and how diverse that group of co-authors was. And the y-axis is a measure of scientific impact based on a citation count of those papers. I don't remember what period of time, but it was actually, I believe, 9 million citation counts that went into this data. In every case meaning, so gender was defined in this case by ethnicity, but it was also looked at, is the team of co-authors diverse in terms of their age, their gender, their disciplines, their affiliations. And in all cases, there was a positive correlation. It turns out, if you read the paper, ethnicity had the highest effect in terms of scientific impact. I don't think there's any dispute. I have never seen a publication. I asked Eva. Haven't seen a publication that basically says diversity doesn't matter. If you have a large enough team, you're going to benefit from the different points of view that are brought to the table. And the different color, by the way, I didn't explain it, but the different colors of dots, if you haven't figured it out already from the key at the top, correspond to different disciplines. So the point is, diversity is impactful no matter what kind of science or engineering that you're working on. One of the things that we've done that I think has been impactful is really have attracted great attendance at the last couple of Beckman-wide lectures. The Beckman-Brown lecture last fall, Nicholas Christakis had about 100 attendees. And this year with Sophia Noble, I think we had 140 unique attendees, but we had up to 300 people registered. So probably there were a few that were shared at least. So I'm, thinking also, if you look at the list of people that attended, Beckman is reaching out beyond sort of just our own membership. We're reaching out into the community, and I think this is all a very positive thing. I wanted to talk a little bit about what's coming next, and so we're all aware that there's some major changes going on. Obviously, a new director, Kara Johnson's position is turning over. Kara's now taken a position as associate dean in the College of Medicine. I think this is, great move for Kara. I'm super excited for her. In fact, I have to be honest with you. I actually coach people to leave. I mean, in the sense that it's great to have people who are so hungry that they want to see their career continue to prosper. Of course, we'd love to keep people like that forever at Beckman, but that's really not in our best interest, I think. And the reason I say that is because to watch a person's career evolve and know that there's something even where the talents could be and experience gained can be put to use is great for our university and great for the people here at Beckman. People come in like Kara and is eager to really advance and climb and impact then campus more broadly. And quite frankly, it is great to have people who think fondly of Beckman in wonderful places around campus. So of course we wish Kara all the best. I'm also incredibly excited about our three candidates. I was telling the staff this morning that the wonderful thing that this committee, our search committee, has done is put three outstanding candidates on the table. And I'm excited by all three of them. I know we have to choose one, but I'm excited because every one of them is so much different than I am. And this is exactly what Beckman needs. That's the change that really will help keep this place vibrant, moving in new directions. I, of course, have my biases. I'm sure they have theirs. And, it's time to stop chugging along with the biases of Jeff Moore. And it's time to really see how others can take their own expertise and skills and elevate Beckman to a new level. And that's why I'm so excited. I was asked the question about what can I tell everybody, to all of the people that are here online, and anyone at the Institute, what, from my own experience, can you all do to help the transition process? And a lot of things. First of all, I would say be patient. There is no individual that can come in and understand how the breadth of Beckman is just so immense that it's impossible to be an expert in the things that go on at Beckman. And of course, that breadth also means the learning curve is going to be very high in some areas, and you can help them. You can help them navigate that learning curve. There's opportunities to, have your voice heard. I think I heard almost everyone, maybe all of them, in their vision talks, which I listened to on recorded while they were posted online. I think I heard them all say that they're going to be in a listening mode. I have to say, this is my 6th year. I'm absolutely still learning. It's what makes the job such a wonderful job. Is the learning never ends, and every day is a school day. I think if you think that that's what your director is going to have to deal with, then it's, you shouldn't hesitate to recognize that you probably need to give sort of a freshman level introduction to what it is that you're doing and get them involved. I spent now several sessions in the magnet being a human subject. And, I learned human subject research is really hard. It's a lot harder than doing chemistry in a flask. So, be patient. be prepared. I think the new director is going to be looking for your ideas, share them, and think about how we can get better, our culture, greater diversity, impactful outreach. These things are going to matter. And, whatever your views are, this is what's going to sustain us. This is what's going to keep us moving forward. I fully believe that. Think about, as you approach the director, recognize that the good things that happen at Beckman are grassroots. And so what is something that's bigger than you that you're willing to be the champion for? Because ultimately the director can't do much. I mean, obviously it's a person with 24 hours, right? And they need champions. What do you want to champion? What's your passion? And I'm throwing this out to everyone from graduate students or undergraduates, even postdocs, faculty, and of course the staff. It's your Beckman Institute, and what are you passionate about that you're willing to really put yourself in a place that you can help drive something forward that you're really passionate about, and how can you build that momentum with others? I think that's probably all I'll say, but I'd be happy to talk with anybody if you would like some further input on that, and we'll have some chance to do that this summer. We do have some good news in terms of the recurring budget from the university. So we used to receive regular increases in our budget. That was during the period of, from, as you can see, 2012 to 15. Then we went through a period where we had regular budget cuts every year. Finally, this year, for the first time in a while, we've been able to negotiate 4 positions. The budget increase that we negotiated won't start until 25, but we were able to make hires and put offers out for the 4 positions listed right away, because we were committed to using our own funding to support those positions until 25. And after that, FY25, the campus is able to build us into their budget. So we already have a BIC assistant director, Aaron Anderson. We will be looking for a BIC data scientist, facilities manager to just handle the additional load of maintaining and all the projects. There's a huge queue, I've got to say. We are still spending that $20 million, and it's definitely in need of some additional help. And then a month from today, our outreach specialist will be joining us. And the first time we've had an outreach specialist here at Beckman, following in the footsteps, for example, of seeing the impact and effect at a place like IGB. This just seems to be the absolute right thing to do for Beckman going forward. I feel very strongly that the building is important and you got to take care of it. But there's something that's even more important, and that's the people inside of it. I would love to see, and we still have, we've made, I think, a lot of improvements. I think there's an opportunity to continue to strengthen and build our culture. And in fact, the pandemic has given us an opportunity to sort of reboot this. And so while, if the pandemic hadn't happened, we'd probably be just sort of business as usual. But I think this is a summer where we can seriously do a hardcore reboot on improving the culture here at Beckman. And this is one way that you can all help make the transition for the next director even more seamless. When the culture really is starting to be something that we all hold near and dear to our hearts, then I think it's going to be obvious how to move forward when the next director is in place. One of the things I've been doing this year in helping to make the transition is to meet with every faculty member and talk about what I should let the director know in terms of where research projects are going, or what excites you. Or I've also asked the question, what is it? What is the good standing of this person in the Beckman Institute? And then I got asked, well, what does it mean to be in good standing in the Beckman Institute? And I think that's a good question that we all ought to help the director figure out. If you want to ask me, I would say being in good standing is really something that's difficult to quantify, but it is a passion for the Institute and the community. It means you're present. It means your presence here is important. It means you are willing to champion things. And, I think that actually understanding that is something that Beckman ought to do and be more proactive about. At the same time, I want to make a statement very clear. So while we're talking about what does it mean to be in good standing in the Institute, I also want to say it's also possible to be in not such good standing, let's say bad standing. What does that mean? It means one thing to me, and it was one thing that I absolutely would not tolerate. There's no room for toxic behavior in the Beckman Institute. And I, just during my period of time, if I saw the opportunity, if this became a problem and I became aware of individuals which really didn't fit the culture of what we were trying to do here at Beckman, I did not hesitate in the least to make change where it needed to be made. I think that has to continue. There's no room for toxic behavior in a place like Beckman. And, I would say it's one of the things that we just have to stand very firm on to make the place better. And I think we'll continue to, be in a better place. And I think Beckman is absolutely a place that I think we all appreciate, being in a work environment that we're able to bring our best selves. So here's an opportunity that I'm certainly looking forward to get back together and to do this reboot and really reestablishing community. And that is starting in June, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 to 10:30, so just a half hour. No expectations. So let me make that perfectly clear. But show up, have a cup of coffee, and talk to somebody that you don't know. Your opportunities to just sort of establish those connections that keep us all together. The reasons why we love this place is going to be some of the conversations you can have. But I really think that community means coming together, getting to know people like, for example, the Bixie. We've gotten to know each other well enough that it's even, not uncommon to be vulnerable, to share vulnerabilities. And, that means you really have connected. That means if you're willing to be that open, it means you really have a strong connection. Those are the things that we're going to remember. Those are the things that are going to make us great. Those are the things that are going to hold us together. Those are the ways that we are going to see unbelievable opportunities that nobody else will see. And that's, what Beckman was built on and what we're all about. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 o'clock to 10:30, just a half hour, grab a cup of coffee, listen, engage in a conversation, and we look forward to really bright, sunny, warm, nice days out in the garden. The cafe renovation is still on track. We're looking for input. People have said, what is actually that going to mean? The architect and engineering firm is nearly selected, I would say. It's F&S is not the fastest in executing on this effort, but we're first of all grateful to everybody who has donated to this project, and I believe this transformation of a better environment for collaborating is something that's going to be really important for the future of Beckman. This is a way when the weather isn't nice and we can't be in the garden that we can come together and really build our community. And so I really look forward to the day when the cafe is opened up. It probably will be a 2-year project. I hope it gets started, this summer, and the change that will have transformed the atrium will then be only the only thing remaining will be the garden area. And so the next director will think about that project as the next possibility. So finally, last 2 slides to go here. I want to say a little bit about what I've heard in the vision talks that certainly was on my mind when I was starting out as director in 2016. And it's this idea that the Beckman Institute needs to have a focus. It needs to be known for something. All of these things are true. I do think the themes are useful. I do think changing the themes are certainly within our realm of possibility. But people, shouldn't get too wrapped up in sort of, we need to be X or we need to be Y, and that maybe even should be our name. The Beckman Institute for X. Well, I actually thought the same thing when I started, but I have really changed my mind and rethought that over the years. In fact, I think it's our strength. The fact that we are the Beckman Institute for Advanced Science and Technology means that we can change when change is right, and we should own that. Even though, what does it mean? What goes on in a place that is the Institute for Advanced Science and Technology? Well, I think that we have become known for interdisciplinary collaboration, and while that's happening everywhere, we can learn to do it with a level of diversity that's probably unmatched. What other building, in the world is going to be home to, from psychology to ECE, computer science, physical sciences, life sciences, veterinary science. It's just an amazing diversity. The opportunities for collaboration that is as diverse on those diversity indices that I was showing you on that 2018 Nature Communications paper would be off the charts. And if we were to probably map the diversity of what the makeup is in a place like the Beckman Institute. And so I very much think that, we're a people-oriented place. It's more than a building. We want to take care of the building, but this is all about the connections that can be made between people. And, when we think about team science in 2035, it's really going to be, I think one of the posts that's up there is, how do we outperform the AI PI, the artificial intelligence PI? And I think it's going to be the team, because the team is going to have some creativity that is off the charts in terms of really how do you capture that in any kind of algorithm. The open-ended focus gives us an opportunity to make sure that we are changing. And since we're in a period at this moment where, there is great change coming, it's easy to let that be stressful, and change brings uncertainty and uncertainty brings stress. Here's why change is essential. And the buildings you're seeing in front of me are buildings I was at on Monday and Tuesday of this week. It's on the campus of the University of Akron. the Goodyear Polymer Center. The building is about the same age as the Beckman Institute. I believe it was opened in 1992. It's a 150,000 square foot building, a 12-story building. And it was the thing in the rubber capital of the US, or at least it used to be, Akron, Ohio. And this Goodyear Polymer Center is a spectacular building, certainly was a spectacular building, but it is a building that I would say was so deeply rooted in one thing that couldn't change. And when the world changed, it really didn't catch up to it. I'm not saying anything that, I wouldn't say to the people I met with during my trip, because they know it too. And the University of Akron's enrollment started going down before the pandemic. And if you followed the news, there's a New York Times article from July of 2020, and you can see the devastation that has hit this campus. I believe 1 in 5 faculty members, tenured or not, lost their job in 2020 because of ultimately enrollments that were compounded by the pandemic. On the right-hand side, the picture is a view from, I believe, the 9th floor. And it's like, this week as I went through the building on my visit, it was like walking through a nuclear fallout zone. It was, completely empty, other than a few faculty, and occasionally you saw a student. The building hadn't been very well maintained. You can see the ledges out the window as you walk down the stairs. They've got like a 1/4 inch of dust on them. The whole, the carpeting is their original carpeting. It just doesn't, it has the feel of like, this is a problem. And, I called this on the drive home. I was thinking about it, and I thought this was my, the gift of Christmas Future from Dickinson the Charles Dickens story. And, it was like, okay, this is why change is important. We can't become so rooted in narrow that we don't have this ability to really be able to evolve, and sometimes evolve quickly. And so I'm really happy to say, the Beckman Institute is on track to really be what it needs to be in the moment that it needs to change. And, it's also the reason why I'm so happy that, I had this time, but I also know that it's going to be a better place when we get a new director who's going to take us in new directions. And it's been an incredible privilege to serve as the director. You are all amazing people. We are in such a strong position right now that the future is incredibly bright. And, I really look forward to seeing how things are going to unfold in the next 5 years. And then I really look forward to being a member of a team in 2035 and seeing what our thoughts were today and how they unfold in 2035 as to what team science looks like. So thank you. If you have any questions, please post them in the chat, and I'll try to answer them. And maybe I should stop sharing, and I should at least get, maybe everybody can, I like to do this, turn on your cameras, and I'll get a couple of pictures, screenshots, if you wouldn't mind, and capture Beckman Institute on May Day, Cinco de Mayo, 2022. All right, let me see, there's 3 pages here. And got it. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions?
Hey, Jeff, I have a question. Is there something that you wish you had gotten to in your time as director that you didn't get to? Like some unfinished business?
Patty, I think that list is so long that I probably have no ability to answer it. It's definitely one of those things one of my downsides, I would say, is sort of I will beat myself up and say, oh, you should have done more. So I don't know. I'm not sure if I had to pick a few, what would they be? Well, I really wish the cafe would have been done by now. That's certainly one thing that I think will, we all have to eat, and there's no good use of that time except to share conversation. And so, well, it's easy to say, like, I don't see how that contributes to the science or technology that goes on at Beckman. But I got to say, like, no, that's where all the action's at. And that's why I think it's so important. Well, I'm not going anywhere. I will be, after the director is in place, I'll still be here, going strong, super excited. Nancy and I just put in this like amazing, she's the director of, we hope it gets funded, a major DOE EFRC proposal. Super excited about it. Like Philippe is there on it. It's Sam Tofik, Randy Ewald, all kinds of people coming together from the Beckman Institute. It just reminds me of how amazing our business office is. Pulling this thing together in 6 weeks was a 16-member team, really amazing.
All right. Oh, go, Martha. Hey, Martha's got a question.
I have a question. What's the timeline like, Jeff?
Oh, your hand is up. I'm sorry. Yes, I believe sometime May 20th or that week, the committee will be meeting. They will probably make a recommendation to Susan Martinez. As far as the timeline goes, I mean, I'm basically committed to being here to help the transition. And whenever that gets accomplished, that will be the so I don't know, Martha, to be honest, there'll be a negotiating period once the recommendation, let's say June 1st, a decision is made, negotiating period, and then, repositioning. If it's a move, I mean, we have 2 candidates from off campus. So if one of them is selected, it will be a move. If Nadia is selected, I can just say that she has a big review coming up, and she's kind of this fall and has been somewhat hesitant to commit prior to that. So we'll make it work. I'm here. I'm not going to leave with until this is all wrapped up and everything's in good shape.
Thank you for everything. As people have been texting or putting in the chat, Jeff, you've been the greatest.
Yeah, and if I can add just one thing, in my position in the college, I meet with all the faculty candidates, and I emphasize the fact that one of the things that characterizes Illinois is the fact that people interact, and basically the whole infrastructures, the policies, the distribution of funds, all these kind of things are kind of set in such a way that makes it very easy for people to collaborate. But I always point to the Beckman Institute as kind of a key highlight for that type of collaboration, and I've always considered this as a jewel of this university, and I'd like to say that you've managed to maintain this jewel in perfect place, actually even more brilliant than it was before. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Philippe. Well, I'm going to capture the chat because it's nice to receive your thank yous, and I appreciate that. And please join me and have a cup of coffee in June and July. It won't take much time, no expectations, just have some conversation and listen to one another. Thanks, everyone.